This is growing straight up. Again, we don't want it, but just leave a stub for dieback, typical maple stuff. I'm not monetized, it doesn't matter if I swear, I can say whatever the fuck I like. Probably shouldn't have said that. Hey, what's up? It's everyone's favourite unemployed plant guy, and I am back. I'm working on my favourite type of tree today, which are maples. I've got 6 in front of me, I've got a couple more over there, but they have leafed out early, so I'm just going to leave them be for now. But new location, unsure how it'll go, we'll see. I have 2 weeks off while I'm in between gigs, so that means 2 weeks of working on my trees. Anyway, we'll probably get started with the big one. I'm going to try and bring you in a little bit closer just so you can see what's going on, because all of these are going to get repotted. Look at the roots, give them a generous tidy up. I might keep this and then we will stick them back in maybe a bigger pot. Might get some of these into some small bonsai pots to continue training. Anyway, let's get into it. Hey, it's post-production Unemployed Plant Guy here. I hope you like the longer form style, though this is just a bit of a close-up of the trees that we're working with. If this is the style that you'd like to see moving forward, please feel free to let me know. Thanks very much, enjoy the video. Hi, I'm trying something different this time. I'm going to try and shoot over the shoulder so that you can see more what I'm doing as opposed to me trying to explain. Firstly though, what we want to do is get this out of the pot and actually just have a look at what we're working with underneath. I know there is a lot of attention that is required up top initially. This has been in this pot for maybe 2 years now. I've had the tree for maybe 3 or 4. So the initial bending and shaping of it was not done by me, I've just maintained it over the years. Let's try and get this out. Okay, so it's not completely grown into the pot yet, but that's probably a good thing. That means I can put it back in here. My tools aren't sophisticated. This and this are probably the most bonsai tools I have. And these were like $10 each off Amazon. And they've lasted a while, so. Let's just take all this crap off. Just start gently pulling things out. Finding out what we're working with underneath. So it's a pretty windy day here today. It's just about to go into September. It's about 24, 25 degrees, and on some of these maples the buds are about to swell or beginning to swell. But I'm not going to go too hard at the root ball. I'm probably just going to give it an initial kind of profile prune through here. Clean up some roots that are kind of crossing over a little bit. There's some in here that are starting to wrap around. And then give the top some major attention. So I'll nip out some of those roots. I'm thinking I should have put this camera on the other side. So that one's crossing, get rid of that. That was a bigger root than I anticipated. There was some up here doing nothing. That's gone. That one goes down and then it comes back across this way. It's also wrapped around the top here. You can see it's this top section here, it's completely wrapped around. So the decision is, do I take it out and clean that up, and potentially risk the health of the tree. Let's clean up these stubs and assess just how major this root is. So it's kind of comes off, wraps around, goes down in over here. Just wondering how much it supports. And I might just have to be bold, be dramatic, and just cut it off. Cut it off at an angle. So that's a pretty substantial root that I've just taken out. I'm going to have to balance the top to reflect that. Like that's, I probably don't want to touch more after that. That's pretty aggressive, although we are missing a lot of roots on this side of the tree. So I might just leave it at that for now. This one's quite thick and it's going straight down, but I might be able to, with some creative planting, I might be able to use this side more. Although these ones are crossing, so I'm going to do something bold again. I know I said I was only going to... That's why you use sharp tools. I know I said I was only going to take that one root off, but I don't really want both of those in there. I had two growing parallel to one another. Put that there. That one's crossing under. So there's still a lot of work that needs to be done to the roots, and that's the one thing that I haven't done to this tree yet, is actually get in and work on the roots. That's a pretty severe initial prune. We got two here, both going the same way. I don't want to kill the tree is the only thing. Might just trim that, trim, trim everything back to a more refined shape. And this probably doesn't even need to go in such a big pot, to be honest, but I might put it back in there anyway. See if I can kind of flatten that out a little bit. Okay. That's pretty dramatic. I'm gonna go find something to put this in, just so it can kind of recover for the next month or so. I'll be back. Okay, so I've gone and found a number of pots that I think would be good, ranging from this small, quite nice Japanese style pot. This is kind of what I thought I would put it in eventually. See if I can hold that up, but I still want it to develop more and thicken the trunk, so I don't want to put it in such a small pot straight away. It is a very nice pot though, which leaves me with these options. I've got kind of a bigger, thicker, more angular pot, which I don't think suits the femininity of a maple, so I'm probably not going to use this one. I mean, it's not going in a show or anything, but I just like it. It's call it an artistic decision. I would just prefer to not have it in that pot, which leaves this, which is actually the pot that it arrived in when I bought it, and I've never liked this pot for this tree. So that's gone. Which takes me to this pot, which I actually really don't mind. It's the lighting here is pretty bad, but it's quite a nice deep blue, kind of speckled light blue throughout. Let's see if I can bring it a bit closer. Oh, this way, everything's reversed. Yeah, anyway, this is the pot. I'm going to get it in here, get it wide in, and then I will start attacking the top. So I'm pretty lazy when it comes to wiring things in. I'm probably just going to use the one for this tree. That should be plenty around there. Somewhere around there. I still do need to decide on a front. I'm leaning more towards this, just because this branch actually comes from the back of the tree, and I think it's a bit ugly having to see that initially. It's just working on this root flare on the back, I guess. I could nearly trim this because it's growing down and out. I could nearly trim it parallel. What I might try and do is really push this tree down into the substrate to get it flaring out. I could even, if I really wanted to, put a little rock in there, but the plan is to just get it down, get it flat, and then wire it down to keep the roots sprawling out. So I'm not going to bother about putting wire in the bottom, just because the holes are quite little and I'm not using proper bonsai soil, so I don't really care too much. Probably the most picky and choosy of the bonsai rules person out there. I will respect some, I will do whatever the hell I want for others. Now the thing with maples is they do like moisture, they're a thirsty tree, but they also like drying out in between waters. So Akadama, yes, obviously that's the main choice. It doesn't necessarily work in your climate. I'm in an temperate, subtropical, it gets pretty cold in winter, inland subtropical climate. So for me, it's pretty much just potting mix, perlite, some other things thrown in there, but if all you're using is 30% perlite, 70% standard potting mix, I've used this, it works. Obviously it's climate dependent. So initially I'll just get a bit of a base lay down. And there's all sorts of crap in this dirt. This is a bit of a recycled but still good dirt. I mean, there's bamboo leaves in here from, oh, that went in my coffee. Okay, could probably put a little bit more in. And then mound the center. Mounding the center, that way we can put this tree on it. Is there a nicer front or back? I don't think it really matters. I'm going to go with this as the front. Just get the roots fanned out, get it in there, push it down, nice like that. You know what, I could even get a bit more dirt in there. Okay, now we have a nice heat pile. Same thing again, I'm just trying to get everything going in a radial fashion. Get the tree in the pot. And then start working the tree down. Working it down like that. And I think that's pretty good, so I'm just gonna commit. It's a twist and then pulling motion to keep it tight. This is probably the worst. That's pretty sturdy. It's probably the worst the worst technique I've ever used doing that. Just kind of lock that down there. Tree's quite stable, and then we just fill the rest up. Try and tuck those in over there, and then that's pretty much this tree potted up and done. Then we'll attack the top. Okay, that's it potted up. Honestly, I probably could have potted this up a little bit higher in the pot, but look, we're here now. First things initially is we're going to use this as the front, right? Just because that is growing out of the back and I don't want it. So straight away, we know we're not going to want this growing directly off the front. See if I can twist this directly to you. So we don't want this immediately. That's going. That's a pretty easy decision. What I'll do, I'll leave about a couple centimeters just as a stub. I put the wheelbarrow over there. Rubbish. This is growing straight up. Again, we don't want it, but just leave a stub for dieback. Typical maple stuff. I'm not monetized, it doesn't matter if I swear, I can say whatever the fuck I like. Probably shouldn't have said that. Okay, I like to start from the bottom and work up. So, I keep that. I'm just nipping these back to the first set of buds. This tree hasn't started swelling yet, so that's why I'm working on it pretty aggressively. That's dead, can pretty much just snap that off. Now this top one here, typically you want your branches to be thinner as they get to the top, so quite wide at the bottom, thinner at the top. So these ones here are actually better candidates for side branches than the other ones. Although, maybe there is a future where this is the front, so let's plan for both. If this could ever blend into that, and this just looks like a branch coming out the side, this is already growing a little bit further towards me, the viewer, so I think that is still quite appealing. So what I'm going to do is actually plan for both. Which means that any one of these could be a branch. I'm going to get rid of that, I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to get rid of that back one. And I'll nip these back just to the third internode, so they have two buds that will flower from. So I cut the third internode in half. Which leaves the question of, it's kind of ugly from this side, isn't it? I think where it's been sitting, it's been shade one side, sun from the other side. So unless I just flip the tree around, maybe that is the answer. Just turn the tree to the front that I want, or put the front of the tree toward the sun. I think it's been sitting, I mean, these trees just sit here while I'm working, and then when I get a chance I come back. So they're looked after, but they're not maintained, which is why this thing is a absolute dog's breakfast. But that actually, to me, kind of makes bonsai a bit more enjoyable. Creating the order out of chaos. There is a number of projects I have planned for my time here, which are pretty much that. So I know I'm going to have to trim this back pretty severely. What I'll do, because it's an easy decision, is just nip again these two buds. And you know what, I'm probably going to get rid of that one altogether, just because we've got competing interest over here. And then what I might actually do is eliminate that and eliminate that, because this can then become... Alright, I'm going to do something fancy and you're not going to be able to see it, but I'm going to cut... These are the buds that sit on the maple. I'm going to cut one of them off and leave this one, so that the tree will bud in that direction. My camera skills are not good enough to show you this, but just believe me. I don't know if my dexterity is good enough either. I wish I had sharper tools. So we've got to go not that way. Alright, that was a process in and of itself. We're hacking this back, I just don't know where to. It is quite thick. I'll probably get rid of this as well, you know. There's a internode, 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 internode. It's grown quite weird. So what I think I'm going to do is just hack it to here. And then leave it be. And then this big long wall at the top is, I'm going to say this tree stretched out is certainly above 1 meter tall. I'm going to leave this big whip on top just to keep pulling sap up through the tree. So that's it, we're done for this tree. I don't know if there'll be a part 2, or this is probably part 1 of part 2 working on maples. So thanks for watching, stay tuned. I've got another 4 Japanese maples and 1 trident maple to work on. So thanks very much. Stay unemployed.